the starting quarterback for the Rams, the middle game on Saturday, may not be available. Here is Jared Goff from yesterday talking about whether or not he believes he will be able to play with that injured thumb.
I'm just continuing to feel good and get better and continue to heal this thumb and making sure it's ready to go.
Are you in the mindset that you're going to start on Saturday?
I'm in the mindset that if I have to play at any point, I'm ready to play and just continue to progress well.
Well, that smile on his face tells me he's in on the ruse that it's going to be John Wolford, and he's doing his best to sell it. I think it's going to be John Wolford. The guy just had pins put in his thumb 11 days ago. I don't expect to see Jared Goff playing for the Rams on Saturday. Maybe if it's a disaster with John Wolford, they put in an X below 100% Jared Goff because they decide we'd rather have that than a healthy John Wolford. But when you look at the fact that the Rams offense is the Sean McVay offense, it's more of a formula than it is a gunslinger, and Wolford beat the Cardinals. I think if you've got Jared Goff at 95, 90, 85%, you probably are better off with John Wolford. And I have a feeling, Peter, that's what we're going to see.
You know, Mike, you know that little clip that the Rams put out last week before the game against the Cardinals when Sean McVay is watching the inter-squad scrimmage before the season at SoFi Stadium, an empty SoFi Stadium, and Wolford is out there playing, and the camera's on McVay, and he says, man, we got Doug Flutie. And I just started to think about how the Seattle Seahawks are playing right now, particularly if Jamal Adams plays in this game and he is at some semblance of 90% or better, and they use him the way they normally use him. Their two acquisitions from this year, from the dregs of the AFC, Jamal Adams, Carlos Dunlap. What have they done to this defense, especially late in the year? They've made it a feistier, more difficult defense to play against in terms of a pass rush and in terms of mystery blitzes. Well, I could see Sean McVay sitting there right now because, Mike, I can tell you right now, at this precise moment, Sean McVay is driving to work because he leaves his house between 4 and 4:15 to get to work. So at this precise moment, he's on his he's in his driver's seat on the 405 near LA. And you know what he's thinking? He's either already made his decision, which he probably has. What he's probably thinking is, you know, I don't want to sit and duck back there. Not that Jared Goff is a classic Brady-type sit and duck, but I think he is thinking Wolford does some things in this game and gets out of the pocket in this game much better than Jared Goff would. I think we're better off with Wolford.
I mean, we see Jared Goff do the rollouts and the bootlegs from time to time, and there's an ungainly quality to it with that rangy, and that's the most complimentary word I can use, physique of Jared Goff. And you know what? There is a chance as Sean McVay drives to the office, he's listening to this on Sirius XM 211 in that event. Good morning, Sean, and good luck tomorrow. But I think that's a real consideration to the extent, and that's an excellent point, to the extent that that defense is more swarming than it was earlier this year. You want the guy who can get away from it and buy some time if need be. But I just don't see a sufficiently dramatic difference that you rush the guy who just had surgery 11 days ago onto the field. Wolford won a game, built some confidence, and you see what you have in him. And the way that Jared Goff explained it yesterday, I get the impression he's been told, you're the emergency option, be ready to go. If we're not getting it done with Jared Wolford, I've mashed the two of them together. John Wolford, we're putting you, Jared Goff, into the game. Flip it over to the Seahawks. Because, Peter, I went back and forth over who to pick in this game. I think the Rams could win. The Seahawks could win. At the end of the day, though, Russell Wilson's 32. He only has so many swings of the bat before he's done. And I know he plans to play another decade, but we're getting farther and farther removed from his last Super Bowl appearance. The notion of losing at home in the wild card round to John Wolford and the Rams, I just don't think that's acceptable to Russell Wilson. Now, whether or not they have the offense properly constructed to help Russell Wilson carry the day is a different issue, and the big question there is DK Metcalf. versus Jalen Ramsey, because we know Ramsey can handle Metcalf. And I think it's incumbent on Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator, Peter, to come up with as many creative ways as possible to get the ball in Metcalf's hands, to move him around as much as possible, to avoid Jalen Ramsey where possible, and to ultimately ensure that Metcalf's great skills can be utilized, not running without the ball in his hands, but running with the ball in his hands.
I'm not all that concerned about touches for DK Metcalf. Obviously, you want to get it in his hands at least 8 or 10 times in the game. That's what you want to do. But I would also make this point. Watch how Tyler Lockett has played in this 100 reception season. And watch as the season goes on. When things get desperate, who's Russell Wilson looking for? Okay, and I'm not saying last week was necessarily a desperado week, because it wasn't. But when he had to win a game, what is he doing? He is looking for the little sliver of a window to get the ball to Tyler Lockett, because he won't drop it. He'll dive around. He has become every bit of Doug Baldwin for this Seattle offense. And there was a time where I thought Doug Baldwin was equally important to Marshawn Lynch in the success of that offense. So I look at Seattle right now, and I kind of take for granted that DK Metcalf is going to be 2 catches for 43 or something like that. And maybe he'll score a touchdown, but he won't dominate this game. I think the solution in this game is the secondary receivers. And it seems crazy to talk about Tyler Lockett, as a secondary receiver, but I think that Tyler Lockett is going to be the key and the solution for Russell Wilson in this game.
The amazing thing about this game, and Sims and I talked about this yesterday, you've got in the second game of the postseason schedule, right out of the gates, 2 teams that are good enough separately to make it to the Super Bowl. One is getting knocked out. One is being sent home. See you later, potentially Rams or Seahawks, but scratch one off the list altogether. And for teams like the Packers and the Saints at the top of the playoff tree, either way, it's a good outcome. Either way, you're happy to see one of these 2 teams go, because one of them can get hot and take off and make it all the way to Tampa if given the opportunity.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.